Good afternoon. Welcome to the GSA COMET II BPA Opportunity Webinar held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your Artificial Intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a short discussion of the general details of the COMET II opportunity, as well as its scope of work. Next will come a discussion of the proposal requirements. Then Ab will discuss the source selection process. We will also touch on the subject of partnering for this opportunity. Finally, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal. So with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to start the webinar.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Cal. As Cal mentioned, we highly recommend that you actually download the slide deck presentation, and if you have any difficulty in downloading it, just write on the chat system that you can download and we'll send it to you by email. So with that, I will go very quickly over what GDI Consulting's capabilities are for those people who are new to our webinar. So let's start with a few numbers. We have an overall 81% win rate. This is an average of 3 years. It's a fairly high win rate because we usually do a thorough go, no-go at the beginning for our clients. So if an opportunity is not a good one for them, we tell them, hey, don't go for this. And this keeps our win rate high too. We had over 226 wins in 2023, and we have approximately 50 proposal managers, writers, and capture managers working for us, the majority of which have over 20 years of experience working with the federal government. I will not go into details of others. The company has 4 divisions in case you need other services. So we have proposal development division, which does eligibility and score assessment, as well as full proposal development, reviews, and staff augmentation. And when I say full proposal development, these days there are 2 types of proposals: the traditional proposals and the self-scoring type proposals. So we are doing both. Then our capture management division has both strategic capture or dedicated capture management, as well as short-term sourcing and qualification. The support division provides, which is usually used by larger companies, provides competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win. And finally, we have training, both for proposal development and capture management. And this is customized training only. So based on your requirements, what you're lacking, we provide a training for you on that subject. Okay, so that was a very quick discussion of our general capabilities. As far as COMET II, I'll go into the details of the COMET II opportunity itself, but we provide free consultation, and I highly recommend that you use this. If you have any questions, you want us to do eligibility and qualification on the phone with you, it's easy. So we do these services essentially free consultation, eligibility and qualification. And then once you decide to go after this opportunity, We can either provide full proposal development for you with a dedicated team that will work with you cradle to grave for all steps or phases of the project, because this is a step type submission. Or if you're doing it in-house, we can provide review services, full proposal and compliance reviews for each step of the way as we go along in the submission process. Okay, so now let's start with COMET II, and let's provide some general details about this. So it's obviously by GSA, the IT Office of Acquisition. It's a BPA under the GSA Mass. So if you do not have GSA Mass, you cannot participate in COMET II. I just wanted to emphasize this. It's agency specific, so it's towards GSA only. Estimated value is $1 billion. Period of performance, I've read that many have said it's 5 years, but no, it's 10 years. At least the draft RFP says it's 10 years. Type of work is obviously custom computer programming services. As far as set aside, it's a partial small business. So they've said that they're going to award 50% to small businesses. Now, in terms of awards, they haven't specifically said how many, but currently there are 21 incumbents, and it's expected to be around the same number. So around 20 awardees. So if that's the case, you would consider 10 large businesses and 10 small businesses. The SINs that you need to have, 5415S, which is IT professional services, or 518210C, cloud computing and cloud related IT professional services. Either of these work. So you need to have these SINs in your mass contract. The full RFP issue date, we do not know yet. It's estimated to be around December or January of next year, this December or January. Award date, again, is estimated March to April of 2025. So that's because the current ongoing COMET ends around that time. Okay, now what are the COMET II goals? So they've expressed 9 goals for this. Agile software development, modernization, enhancements, human-centered design, solution application design, business analysis, development, integration, and configuration, data management and hygiene, program management support, release management and post-implementation maintenance support, training and change management, FISMA compliance, cybersecurity support, and responsible innovation. So these are the goals that they've set in for COMET II, and obviously the task orders will have these goals in mind as well. And you do need to understand these goals and plus the scope that I will explain in a minute, because you have to address these in your write-ups in the proposal. So what are the scope? So this called Chief Information Officer, or CIO, Modernization and Enterprise Transformation 2, short for COMET 2. BPA, it provides GSA IT division with access to a pool of vendors that have expertise in both knowledge and delivery of agile software development and maintenance across an array of technologies like on-premise, cloud, SaaS, and etc. The BPA will provide streamlined process to support the purchase of IT products and agile delivery services, including. Now these are all important, and I've written them because, again, as I said, you need to address these in your technical and even management approach volumes. So user-centered design, emerging architecture and design, agile application development and configuration, analytics, monitoring, integration, DevSecOps, and other IT support services such as IT management and governance and business process analysis. So these are all included in the scope for COMET II. Okay, having said that, let's now dive into the proposal structure, how you're supposed to do it. Now, there are 5 volumes, and essentially there are 5 steps to the governance review. So you're not supposed to submit all volumes together. You submit each volume one by one, and then you're invited to provide the next volume to the government. They have said that you are allowed to submit the next volume even if you're not invited. That's acceptable, but it gives you an idea whether you're going to pass or not. So volume 1 is past experience scenarios, 22 pages overall. Volume 2 is coding and user research experience, 18 pages overall. Technical, 85 pages overall with all the optional task orders. I will go into the details of each of these in the next slides. Then you have the technical challenge presentation. This is a new system, system of work essentially for many government agencies, including GSA. The term paper tigers might be familiar to you. They want to avoid that. So there are companies who write very well, but when they're called paper tigers. But when it comes to the actual performance, they lack. So they want to make sure that they don't face those types of paper tigers, so to say. So they want to see you actually doing coding. So that technical challenge presentation is actually doing coding, and I will explain what that is. And then you have the prize. So step by step, the government will review, invite you to the next one, and next one until you're awarded. Okay, now let's dive deeper into each of these volumes, and I will give you some details about each. So volume 1 is past experience, cover page and table of contents, and then past experience itself, 21 pages. So what does that entail? You must provide 3 contracts, up to 3 contracts, obviously, that cover as many as 11 scenarios listed in the next slide, and I will show you those scenarios, what those 11 are. So essentially, you're supposed to provide 3 contracts that cover the majority of these 11 scenarios. Now, you're not supposed to, cover all 11, but if you cover all 11, you get a higher evaluation rating. So you should go for that. Try to cover all 11. Provide contracts that can actually cover all those 11 scenarios. Now, each contract doesn't have to cover, as I said, recency. Now, contracts must be completed within 3 years of the RFP closing date. Now, since the RFP or RFQ, GSA call these RFQ, these have not been issued yet. We don't know when that closing date is, but once the full RFP drops, then you have to go back 3 years, and that's the completion date must be after that. If the contract is ongoing, it must have at least 1 year of performance. I've seen articles saying 2 years. That's a mistake. It's 1 year, 1 year of performance. Total contract value must be over $4 million, and you can use one contract from a subcontractor. I will go into partnering later on, but one of these contracts can be from a subcontractor. Now, GSA has not specified in the draft RFP whether these contracts can be, must be all federal, or you can use commercial contracts as well. We don't know that yet. Also, whether all of them need to be prime contracts, or you can actually use a subcontract or not. These will probably be clarified when the full RFP drops. Okay, so that was volume 1. Now, here is the 11 scenarios. I'll read off a few of them, but not all of them. So, experience implementing business system transformation using agile development, delivery, and sustainment process, and so on. A single contract, no less than 24 personnel across multiple agile teams, with at least 2 of these teams supporting a single application system. So, they want to see how big a projects you have actually performed. Integration between 3 or more systems, where at least one system is a custom development application, and one other system is either a cloud-based SaaS or cloud-based COTS application, and so on and so forth for all 11. Now, it is obvious that maybe you might not have all 11. Again, as I said, you should go for all 11. And if you don't have it, try to use a partner, either a JV, CTA, or subcontractor. And subcontractors are better. I will show you why. So you can actually, out of those 3 contracts, one of them can be from a subcontractor. But try to cover all 11 scenarios if you can. So that was volume 1. Now volume 2 is called coding and user research experience. This is new. Comet 1 didn't have this. This is different from that challenge. Here you provide documents. So you provide source code, and you provide user research experience one-pagers. Overall, the 18 pages, 16 pages is the meat of the volume. Must provide up to 3 coding and user research experience sample, similar to the below scenario. What is the scenario? This is the scenario. GSA needs agile software development and human-centered design services to iteratively release functionality. The government anticipates the needs of between 2 to 5 Scrum teams to be working collaboratively to deliver the functionality. The solution must be cloud-hosted and leverage DevSecOps pipeline. So the samples that you provide must be, for work that you've done that covers between 2 to 5 teams working collaboratively, cloud hosted, and DevSecOps pipeline, and so on and so forth. So 3 coding projects and 3 user research you have to submit. So source code and user experience research. And you must provide a 1-page summary of the project background, the problems that were addressed, and how it's similar to the project described below. The scenario. So that's what you provide in volume 2. As I said, so once you submit your volume 1, they will review and send you an invitation to submit volume 2. So you don't submit volume 2 with your volume 1. Okay. Now assume that they accept your volume 2, then you have to go to volume 3. It's called Technical and Management Approach, and it has many parts. It has, the first one is overall BPA technical approach, 10 pages, overall BPA management approach, another 10 pages, and the SCRM questionnaire responses to cybersecurity, 3 pages. This is BPA side of the work, so 23 pages overall. The SCRM questionnaire is just yes and no, you reply, but 20 pages for technical and management approach for the BPA. And here is where you actually have to tie in with the scope and the goals of the BPA, Comet 2, and what I discussed earlier. Now, in addition to that, you have 5 task orders. The FC3 task order, the IAE SAM.gov task order, GSA IT PMRT, IAE Entity 360, and IAE Acquisition 360. These are the 5 task orders. Out of these 5 task orders, 2 of them are mandatory. So task order number 1 and 2, FC3 Operations and Maintenance Technical and Management Approach, 12 pages you have for that. And then IAE SAM.gov Product Architecture Share Services, Technical and Management Approach, 12 pages for that. So these 2 are mandatory. You have to provide your technical and management approach towards preparing for those task orders. But the 3 others, number 3, 4, and 5, are optional. You don't have to submit them, but if you submit, they'll review, and if you're good enough, your pricing is good, you might even be awarded. So it works like this. Once the awardees are selected, they also award these 5 task orders as well. So at the same time, they award 5 task orders to those awardees based on what you actually wrote here and your pricing, obviously, for these 5 task orders. Okay, so that's volume 3. The BPA technical approach should demonstrate a solution for consistent and repeated delivery of agile IT development services and solutions for any future task orders under the COMET II BPA. Provide an overview of the proposed solution as per COMET II PWS, functional areas, and so you have to tie in with the functional areas, which should include meet one or more of the agile methodologies, explain all the tools, management practices, and sizing the offerer uses with the proposed methodology, and clearly demonstrate the roles, responsibilities, and actions that will be taken to provide continuous release of a functional product. So that goes into the technical approach. In the BPA management approach, it should demonstrate managerial expertise and capability to fulfill the government's requirements as outlined in the BPA PWS. So essentially technical and management approach for the BPA, the overall vehicle. Now the SCRM questionnaire, it's your commitment to maintain cybersecurity during the life cycle of the BPA. Ensure it is fully filled out. Don't leave out parts of it. They have not released it, but usually, remember, you have to say yes to everything. If you say no to some, you might get disqualified. So make sure that you comply with everything. Now, task orders, technical and management approach, as I said, you must respond to task order number 1 and 2, but 3, 4, and 5 are optional. And for each of them, you need to provide a technical and management approach specific to the task order PWS. And you have to include your small business participation if you're a large business as well. At least 20%, if I'm not mistaken. So that was volume 3. Then we go into volume 4. Now, volume 4 is the technical challenge. So it's a one-day technical challenge in person exercise in DC. So you have to go to Washington, DC. You will have up to 6 hours to prepare your MVP, the minimal viable product. So 6 hours for preparing your MVP. And you can have up to 10 people in your team. Now, these 10 people, they can be your employees or your first-tier subs. You must leverage digital service playbook concept to design, develop, and meet requirements of the user story. And following the development of the MVP, you must present, you have a demonstration of the MVP and answer government questions. So this is the technical challenge. 6 hours, they'll give you a question or a challenge, and you have to prepare the MVP for it, team of 10, and then present it to the government people. And they will ask questions from you. Okay, and finally, and for volume 4, obviously you have to get an invitation. It's not that anybody who can go in there and do it. So after you submit your volume 3, they accept it. They will send you a volume 4, they'll send you an invitation for a specific date to go to Washington, D.C. and actually, do that demonstration. If you pass that, then they will automatically start, they will ask you to submit pricing. So volume 5 is pricing. Now it has 2 attachments, attachment B and C. B is the mandatory rate table for the BPA labor rates. And C, attachment C, is the mandatory labor rates for task order number 1 and 2. Those are mandatory, so you have to fill them out. But if you're going for any of the task orders 3 to 5, then you fill out those labor rates for those in attachment C. If not, you leave them blank. So that's volume 5 price, which you submit to the government. Okay, now let's discuss this source selection process. So step 1, I think I've discussed it, but I just wanted you to see it. So step 1, volume 1, you prepare it, you send it to the government reviews it. If you're good enough, as far as their requirement, you get the highest, the high scores on that, then they will send you an invitation to go to step 2. Nonetheless, for those companies who do not receive an invitation, they can themselves, because they will release the dates and everything, they can actually submit their proposal for volume 2 as well. But I mean, when they don't send you an invitation, it speaks for itself. In step 2, again, they will review based on, if you go to section M, factor 2, they have said what they're going to look for factor 2. And based on that, they will review your code challenge documents. If you get high scores there, then they invite you to step 3, which is the providing your technical write-ups, which we discussed, the technical and management approach, BPA, and for those minimum task orders. So once you submit that to the government, they're going to review that based on section M factor 3 evaluation criteria. If you get high scores there, they will send you an invitation for volume not to submit anything, but to come to Washington, D.C. on a specific date and do your presentation. And you will have 7 days only. So they will, at least that's what they've said, they will give you a 7 days heads up that, hey, next week you're supposed to have a demonstration with us. And once you do that demonstration, they will evaluate you based on factor 4 in section M of the RFP. If you get high scores there, then they will ask you to submit your pricing. And the pricing you submit, they review for fairness and reasonableness. Remember that they have to be at least your mass contract prices, LCATs, or lower than that. You can't go above your mass contract. And then if you're good, since I said that you have 2 mandatory task orders, they add up those task orders, the FC3 and the IAE SAM.gov task orders, combine them, and then they get the total evaluated price. TEP price is used that way to compare companies against each other. So that's how they will review companies, and at the end of the day, it's expected that they will award approximately 20 companies, maybe 1 or 2 higher or lower, and half of these will be small businesses. So that's essentially the source selection process that the government is going to take. Now, partnering, I have a few points on that. So there are different arrangements. You can have a prime sub relationship, you can have an existing CTA, or you can have an existing JV. Why do I say existing? Because if you use a new CTA or a new JV, you're going to get reduced ratings in your evaluations. The government does not like that. So if you're going to use a CTA or JV, it must be an existing one. Now, the thing about CTAs and JVs, existing ones even, is that when you provide those experiences in volume 1 or even volume 2, you must provide examples or contracts that were in, both or all members were involved. So that's the catch for existing CTAs and JVs. Say, take volume 1, you're supposed to provide up to 3 contracts that cover all those 11 scenarios. If you're an existing JV, then all the contracts that you provide must be from the JV. They cannot be from the JV members. So all the contracts must involve all the members of the JV or the CTA. That's the good thing about prime sub relationship. That is not a requirement there. So if you bring in a subcontractor and use one of its contracts, there's no restriction there. Okay, so that's partnering I wanted to emphasize. Recommendations. So you need to really do a go no go on this COMET 2 on 2 areas, both business wise and capabilities wise. Why do I say business wise? Okay, so if you look at the current Comet, the ongoing Comet 1, so to say, only 8 of the 21 companies have received more than $10 million worth of contracts. So that's something around 60% have not received more than $10 million. So if you want to go after Comet 2, I recommend that you first do an assessment whether you can place yourself within the top 10. This does not mean there are top 10 large businesses, not necessarily. The current Comet is not like that either. I mean, those 8 that are getting those $10 million or more worth of contracts are not all large businesses. So even if you're a small business, but you have to be strong enough and capable enough to actually, I'm talking about task order now, when you're competing against task orders to receive those contracts. So that's one thing to do when you're considering and doing a go, no go assessment. And the second one is capability wise. Obviously, you need to do a gap analysis of volume 1 and 2 especially, and find out your gaps, whether you have the proper contracts or not, or whether you have those source codes and things like that, and then decide whether you can actually get it from a subcontractor or a teaming arrangement or somehow. So these are the things that you need to do before you actually start your proposal and go in full steam. Now, some general notes. As GSA is using a stepping selection process, phase by phase, you need to concentrate on each phase. So don't underestimate the phases. I would emphasize specifically phase 1, because if you fail there, you're done for it. So phase 1 or step 1, volume 1 past experience is really important. You should ensure, if you want to go up, that the 3 contracts that you provide will cover all, and I mean all 11 scenarios. They've said that you don't have to have it, but if you want to actually make sure that you move to step 2, ensure that all 11 scenarios are covered with your 3 contracts. That's why I said, even if you need to bring in a subcontractor, do so by all means. Now, to pass on technical volume or volume 3, ensure that you cover each and every aspect of the SAO or the PWS, as well as sections L and M. Now, if you look at the sections L and M, within section M, there are a lot of requirements that are not spelled out in section L. So make sure that you cover everything in section M in your write-ups. With regards to step 4, you will get a 7-day heads up, which is no way enough. In no ways enough. We recommend that you start careful preparations, practice, and coaching of the selected team after you receive the approval for step 1. Because once you have enough contracts to show your strength for step 1, you will probably have step 2 in your pocket too, and then step 3 is essentially good writing and preparations. So you can actually go for and prepare the technical challenge step 4. So our recommendation is, once you get your approval from the government that you can move to step 2, you start your preparation, start practicing, start coaching your team, and so on and so forth. And finally, balancing your pricing so that while it is at or below your GSA mass price list, you can still provide discounts at task order level, because that's important. You want to win those task orders at the end of the day, so you want to be competitive. You want to have leverage to reduce your costs if possible. So these are my general recommendations towards this. And once again, I just wanted to mention free consultation, eligibility and qualification assessment. By all means, use this opportunity and call us if you have any questions. And then we have 2 services: full development for each of those steps: full proposal development, and then review services if you're doing it in-house. And here are contact information, my email and phone number. Email is preferred, and my colleagues, Maron Freedy. If you want to set up a call with us for consultation or for our services, anything, please contact Maron at the email or the phone number, and we can set up a call and answer any questions that you might have or discuss the services that we provide. Okay, we are already 5 minutes late. I wanted to finish this in 30 minutes. So I have a few questions here. Let me read off some of these questions quickly. Do we need to have an FCL to submit our offer? No, Andrew, at least as far as the draft RFP, or as they call it, RFQ, is concerned. They haven't said anything about requiring a facility clearance, so you don't need an FCL. Obviously, we have to check the full RFP when it drops, but it seems that they're not asking for that. Question from Jane. You mentioned the requirement for SCRM for cybersecurity. Recently, they're talking about having a CMMC certification as well. Is this the same? Okay, so CMMC has not been implemented fully yet. It will be done in 2025. So, and CMMC has 3 levels. The first level is a self-attestation or self-certification. And then level 2 and 3, they require a third party to come in and review you and certify you. Now this one, the SCRM that we have to fill out, the 3-pager, is similar to that self-attestation. They haven't issued the document itself yet. We have to wait and see how it is, but it's usually a yes and no on that. It is a little bit different from the CMMC certification. It's a self-attestation so far. Question from Albert. Why is having a prime sub relationship better than a JV or CTA? Okay, so an existing CTA or an existing JV, they have to use contracts that they have done together for Volume 1 and perhaps the artifacts for Volume 2. Whereas when you create a prime sub relationship, say for Volume 1 or even Volume 2, the sub doesn't have to have worked with you previously. At least so far, the draft RFP does not say that. So it seems that it's better. It gives you, more leeway to use a subcontractor rather than finding a JV member and ensuring that the 3 contracts that you have worked are on. Have been with that partner, all 3 contracts that cover the 11 areas. So that's why prime sub relationship to be able to cover all the 11 areas is a better substitute. Jeanette, is the final RFQ going to be posted on SAM? No, Jeanette. So it will be posted on the GSA eBuy, the portal specific to GSA Mass. And actually Oasis is now going to be listed there. The task orders will be listed there too. So it means that you actually have to have a GSA Mass contract to be able to have access to that eBuy portal. Last question, the 5th one. Let's go for Steven's question. Can we use subcontracts as examples in Volume 1 or source code from subcontracts in Volume 2? Well, that's the problem, Stephen. Unfortunately, the draft RFP is a little bit ambiguous here. It doesn't say whether you have to be prime on the contracts that you provide in Volume 1 or the artifacts in Volume 2. It doesn't even say whether they have to be federal or you can use commercial or state and local contracts as well or not. So we'll have to wait and see, and it's better if you want to use subcontracts or if you want to use commercial contracts, it's better to actually write GSA. Since the full RFP has not dropped, you still have time to actually send them questions and ask this question, ask them to clarify on this. Okay, we've run out of time, so thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. I look forward to seeing you in our future webinars. Next week we'll have a Army Maps webinar, so I invite you to participate in that. If you have not registered for that, by all means do so. Go to our website, www.gdicwins.com, and find the webinar for Army Maps and register for it on Tuesday or Wednesday. And ahead of time, happy Thanksgiving as well. Have a great day.